Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 3rd of June. Today we have some updates, so let's discuss them. And first we're going to start with the Kharkiv area. This is the Kharkiv. You know that this is the first area where the Ukrainians tried their offensive operation. We discussed this operation in Kharkiv many times, and we know that the Ukrainians almost managed to reach the border. And there is a video how Ukrainians established their flag on the border. But some sources are saying that it's not a real video, that it's fake, so we can't judge. We just can discuss the facts. So, and what's going on right now, these days? So, this is Kharkiv. The Russians is in the north, and also they're on the east. So this old red line is on the Russians. But there is one important note, one report update, and according to the Russian sources, the Ukrainians managed to establish control over this bridgehead. They managed to cross the river near the Starosaltov town. This is the Starosaltov. And they established their bridgehead near the town Hatomlia in this area. So we can say that this area is on the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians were planning to collect some forces in this area and to organize their offensive operation between these two rivers towards Belый Kolodец. So let's update this map according to the information we have. So this is the current situation in Kharkiv. As you can see, this yellow cloud is the territory that under Ukrainian control. So they crossed the river, they established this bridgehead, and they were trying to collect forces in this area, just with one purpose, to attack the supply road that located on Belый Kolodец, so from Vovchansk toward the Izum area. So that was the plan. And the Ukrainians started to follow this plan and start moving their forces in this area using this road. This road that leads from Kharkiv towards Starosaltov. So it's a very nice road, and the Ukrainians were using this road. Few days ago, maybe somewhere like a week ago, the Russians managed to defeat Ukrainians in Ternovo and Rubezhno. And this morning I start to receive the messages that the Russians continue their operation towards this road, towards Shestakova, town Shestakova, and town Fyodorovka, just with one purpose, to cut this road. And yesterday some Russian sources announced that the Russians managed to establish control over this town. And also they told that because of that fact that they managed to establish control over Shestakova and Fyodorovka, they encircled the forces that were located in Starosaltov and on this side of this river. I'm not sure about if this news is true. I don't think that the Russians are pushing from the border towards this area like with the purpose of establishing control over this territory. They don't have enough of forces for that, but I'm sure that this is a very nice plan to attack the supply road that the Ukrainians are using to create their forces on this river. I'm sure that sooner or later the Russians will solve the issue with the Starosaltov, but for now we have what we have. And if we take a look at this map, you're gonna see this road. This is Kharkiv. So the Ukrainians are using this road, and they're moving towards Starosaltov. They're not using exactly this bridge, this dam, because this dam was blown. They managed to establish some pontoon bridges somewhere in this area, and now the Ukrainians have their position on this side of the river, in this forest, maybe in this small camp, in this park near Hatomlia. And the Russians are attacking from the north, from this area towards Fyodorovka and towards Shestakova. Maybe they have some position in Ternovaya, Piramoga, maybe somewhere here, because as you can see, neither the West sources map nor the Russian sources map has been updated. Neither of these two maps are showing that these territories is under the Russian control, so that's why I think that these territories are not. But the Russians are sending some commandos and some scouts to cross this road and to destroy as much as possible supply that moves towards Stary Saltov and towards this side of the river. To tell the truth, I'm a little bit worried about this because this situation with Stary Saltov and with the bridgehead on this area, and the question for me is why the Russians are not trying to solve the issue with this bridgehead. Maybe because of that fact that there is two rivers, for example, and there's just one way for the Ukrainians to attack through this line, and I'm sure that this line is fortified, so there is no way the Ukrainians can use to attack towards this support. More than that, we can say that maybe the Russians are waiting when Ukrainians are able to collect some critical mass in this area, for example, like 1 BTG. And as soon as Ukrainians do this, the Russians are going to cover this area with artillery, all these pontoon bridges, and just destroy this BTG. I'm not sure, but something interesting is happening there. So we'll see what's next, and we will follow this situation. Now let's move towards our Lyman area. There is just a few updates, more updates on the West Sources map. You see that the West Sources map has been updated. They just changed their lines, their border. We could see that the territory till Alexandrovka was under the Ukrainian control, but now they just have updated this map, saying that entire this area is under the Russians, but the Russians' attack stopped. As we discussed, the Russians stopped. It's already second day in a row. I can't say that there are a lot of Ukrainians in this area, not more than the Ukrainians in Lyman, but the Russians stopped. They can't move because the situation with Bogorodishna is not solved. So we see that the Russians are showing us, there are some videos and so on, how they're trying to cross these forests towards Bogorodishna. And I watched this video and I understand that it's something like a jungle battle. So imagine yourself, it's a very huge forest, and if you take a look at this forest, so the Russians are trying to move through this forest, and this video showed us some episode from this jungle battle. So there are a lot of Ukrainians, a lot of Russians, and it's very difficult because the only one way to cross is just to use the commandos, because you are not able to use the vehicles or tanks. So the Russians trying to clear this forest and to reach Bogorodishna, and from now they're not very successful. They need time to do this. So that's why I can say that of course they will try to establish control over Bogorodishna by the end of this week, but maybe, and something tells me that the final clearing of this Svietogorsk, Studionik, Bogorodishna area we're gonna see just the next week. Or maybe the Russians can change their plans. For example, we know that according to the information we have, the Russians establish control not just over this area near Svietogorsk, also the Russians are controlling this territory. So let's update this map for better understanding. So the only option for the Russians in this area to cover this area with the bombs heavily, to shell this area heavily, and to attack, of course, from the many sides, not just towards Bogorodishna, but also they need to try some offensive operations towards Svietogorsk, towards Tyanovka, towards Priship, and towards Sidorove. By the way, today I got the video on Ukrainian sources that the Russians are moving towards this area, another group of engineering forces with pontoon bridges. So it's real thing that the Russians are planning to cross the river one more time in some place. For now, I can't tell exactly where they're planning to do this, but to cross the river for them is a vital question. So if we take a look at this area from this map, you're gonna see this all these towns, Priship, Sidorova, this Tyanovka, this Svietogorsk, this is these towns, and maybe Priship. Priship is the only place where the Russians can start their offensive operation. It's very close to their position, to Drobushevo. It's like in the very rear position. So it's maybe just one option to start their attack somewhere here, and that will allow them just to cross the river. And the only thing they need is to establish bridgehead in this town. Maybe we start with commandos or something like this. I'm not sure that they'll be able to do with Sievierodonetsk, because Sievierodonetsk is very far and it's very, very fortified area by the Ukrainians. But to attack Svetogorsk from Yarova is impossible, and we see that the Russians stopped. So we'll see what's next. One more important update about Kharkiv area I wanted to tell you, but I missed this, about the town by the name of Pechenegi, this area. There was a very interesting case in this area, very interesting case. If you follow my Telegram channel, I published you the videos how the Ukrainian forces refused to fight because of bad command, because of bad supply and so on. Maybe it's just a kind of speculation, but according to the information I have, this town is under protection of the territory defense, not the regular Ukrainian forces. And there was a day in this week that they received an order to start their offensive operation towards the Russian Federation area, not towards the territory that is under the Russians. But these guys refused because they understand that it was kind of suicide operation, and they didn't want to be a meat in this conflict. So that's why the Ukrainians from Kharkiv, like SBU forces, they moved towards Chernihiv, their special forces. So the guys who is working with those Ukrainian soldiers who doesn't want to fight and who refuse to go to start these suicide operations. So they sent these special forces, and they were planning to capture all those guys who were against any kind of offensive operation. But you understand that when it's wartime, that when you have a group of soldiers, you have like a feeling of brotherhood. And of course, these guys together were since the beginning of this war. And you know that there is like a lot of Telegram channels, and there are a lot of videos how the Ukrainians refuse to start their offensive operation, refuse to stay in their positions, and they're leaving their position because of heavy shelling, because of the fact that there's no support and supply. And there was a few cases when such groups published their videos, and after that their commanders were captured and put into prison. So because of their retreat and left their position. So these guys from Kharkiv were moved towards these Pechenegi with one purpose: to capture the commanders who refused to start their offensive operation. And there was a case, and maybe I repeat myself, kind of speculations. These forces, these guys from territory defense, start attacking these SBU forces. So there was a small clashes between two Ukrainian groups. I'm not sure, I don't know exactly about the result of those clashes, but I'm sure that nobody from this territory defense was arrested. So maybe they shown them that they're not going to give up and to give their man. And this is the story, and this is a very bad example for the Ukrainians, because their army have very low morale in this war, very low because of heavy losses. Now let's move towards the Sievierodonetsk. If you take a look at this area, we can say that there is no changes. The only one update that we can say about Sievierodonetsk is that the Russian forces are saying that the Ukrainians changed their tactic. The Ukrainians moved and hid in this industrial zone. So this is the area that is under very, very heavy fire control from Lysychansk agglomeration. And they established their position in this industrial zone. And the Russians understand that it's impossible and it's not a very good thing to attack this industrial zone, because we must say that there are going to be a lot of losses. So that's why the Russians are not moving further. They established their position around this industrial zone and they're stopped. So that's why the Ukrainians started their small but massive offensive, counter-offensive operation towards the Russians. So their main idea is to be something like a trap, to be something like a bait. So they're coming to the edge, trying to call a fire on themselves, and then they're retreating. And with help of that, they're forcing the Russian to leave their safe position and to come closer to this industrial zone and after that they are covering by the fire, by artillery fire, by shelling, by snipers. Anyway, I'm not saying that this tactic is very effective, but if the Russians are not able to do something with Lysychansk, to encircle this town, to establish control over the roads, and so on, this tactic of bait, of trap, can bring Ukrainians a lot of success. So, and that's it about Sievierodonetsk. No more updates. So now let's move to the south. No updates from Voronovo, Borivske. So as I understand, as we discussed yesterday, the Ukrainian forces decided to retreat. So we're doing this slowly, step by step. Maybe this evening report there would be some updates regarding this area. But to tell the truth, as usually on Friday, not much changes on the front line. It's as usually the Russians start their week heavily, and by the end of the week they're going for a weekend. We can say like this. So the same situation with Toshkovka, Ustinova, no changes. The only thing that some sources are saying that there are battles around Mirna Dolina. I'm not sure about the correct position. I think that there is a battle between Ustinovka, Toshkovka and Mirna Dolina somewhere here. I'm not sure that the Russians are able to control or attack Mirna Dolina, but something like here. There is no updates from Gorsk Zolotoye. The Russians, yesterday, we remember, established control over the Kamyshuvacha. I think that they're clearing this Kamyshuvacha and they're preparing their positions. Maybe they're preparing their next steps. So maybe they're going to do at least some attack by the end of this weekend. Maybe they will continue on Monday. I don't know. No updates from the Popasna area, the same thing. The battles around the flower, no changes, no movements. Again, the end of the week, or maybe something else. Maybe it's a silent before the big storm. I don't know. The same situation about our Svetlodarska area. The only update that the Russians are pushing Novolugansk, and maybe by the end of this week they are able, or they will establish control over entire Novolugansk, because the clashes there are very heavy, and after that we'll see what is going to be the next step of them. No updates from our Avdiivka. Yesterday we discussed about the tank attack and nothing else, nothing more. The Russians are trying to encircle and trying to establish control over Krasnogorovka, but for now no success about this. The Ukrainians are shelling Donetsk very heavily. You see, it's like civilians, and more than that, as far as I know, the Ukrainians are using all types of weapon they can use to shell Donetsk, and a lot of these shells are not allowed by the law, by the international law. So that's why the operation near Avdiivka is so vital. No updates from Kurakhova area. The Russians are trying to push Ukrainians here, but for now there's just like battles around on the front lines, nothing more. No updates from the Orekhov Gulyai Pole area. The same thing, just the artillery duels and nothing more. The same situation from the Kherson area. The Ukrainians were defeated, we remember this. Now they're trying to collect their forces to analyze this operation and to understand what are they planning or going to do next. The same situation, the Russians are mining these rivers and trying to avoid such offensive operation in the future. So this is the situation about the Ukraine for Friday evening. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, and enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.